Okay, so here we are, ready to start step 6, where we're evaluating premises for relevance. And remember that unlike with acceptability, when we're looking at whether premises are relevant, we have to pay attention to the structure of the diagram, because the question of relevance is always related to what the function of the premise is. What is it giving evidence for? Moreover, we have to consider dependent premises, premises that show up as linked in our diagrams, as units. We ask if altogether they are relevant. So let's put relevance in a new box over here. We're going to start with our example number 2. And we're not asking whether we accept these claims. We're asking whether we think these claims matter to the claim that they're allegedly giving evidence to. We know the author is intending them to give evidence for this claim, but we're going to say, do they matter? Are they relevant? Let's start down here. And we're going to look at these 3 down at the bottom. They're independent, so we can take them one at a time. I always like to start at the bottom of the argument and move up. So let's start with claim number 11, relevant to claim number 10. Doesn't matter. And I would say that claim is, that premise is relevant. If the person in question were intending to stay for more than one night, she would need a larger suitcase. A small suitcase is only capable of carrying one change of clothes plus some other necessities. So I'm not arguing, I'm not asking, is it true that she had a small case? I'm saying, is the claim that she had a small suitcase relevant to the claim that she was staying overnight? So that's good. Now let's go on to 10. She was intending to stay overnight, therefore she must have come a decent distance. That's relevant. If the person had traveled from somewhere nearby, she would not have planned to stay overnight, but would have merely returned after whatever engagement she had planned. Do you see how I'm adding to the premise? I'm not just repeating the premise. I'm saying, yeah, that's true because this if-then statement is true. So 10 is relevant to 12. It's relevant evidence to the claim that she must have come at a decent distance. 14, her coat still hasn't dried, therefore she must have not come more than 2 or 3 hours. Relevant. If the person had traveled more than 2 or 3 hours, her coat would have had the time necessary to become completely dry. See, I'm giving different kinds of justification. I'm asking a different question than I did in step 5. And that's very important to understand the difference between acceptability and relevance. I'm going to go up to this level here. Start over here with 2. Is 2 relevant to 3? The person's coat is slightly damp. Therefore, the person has been in heavy rain in the last few hours. And I'd say this is relevant. The slight dampness of the coat is evidence of having been in rain in the not so distant past. Okay. You could ask whether there's other, unless there are other explanations for having a slightly damp coat. For example, the person could have walked through a sprinkler. But these explanations seem far less likely than the alternative one suggested. Good. Let's go into here. 5. There's dampness under her coat collar, therefore the person has turned the coat collar up against the wind. That seems relevant. The dampness under the coat collar indicates that the material there was exposed to rain, and the only way it could have been exposed is if the person had turned the collar up. Good. Let's go over here to 8. The umbrella in her left hand pocket is dry and unused, therefore the wind was too strong to use her umbrella. That's relevant. The fact that let's see, the most likely explanation for the person not using her umbrella in the rain is in fact wind. If it hadn't been windy, the person would have used the umbrella to keep herself dry. All right, let's go over here. I'm going to make this a little smaller so I can see this premise here that is hiding. Okay, and so we've done all of these. We're going to go up to this level of argument. Let's start with 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are dependent, so I need to evaluate them as a unit. 3 and 4. There's been no rain in London at that time. The person has been in heavy rain the last few hours. Therefore, the person traveled to London from somewhere else. And I'm going to say 3 and 4 are relevant. And this is where some of your justifications may sound a little bit awkward. Don't worry if they sound awkward as long as they're accurate. Premise 4 makes a claim about London. Premise 3 makes a claim about the place that the person had been in. The claim about the place that the person had inhabited is contrary to the claim about London, which means that the person could not have been in London. Sounds a little weird, but that's exactly right. I'm describing what the premises do. Not what they say, but what they are doing, what their function is. Let's go over here. 13. Is 13 relevant to 18? She must not have come more than 2-3 hours. Therefore, the place the person traveled from is within 2 or 3 hours. That's relevant. In fact, so relevant that 13 is almost the same as 18. If she traveled no more than 3 hours, then the place she traveled from must be within that distance. Okay? 12, she must have come a decent distance. Is that evidence for the fact that she traveled within 2 or 3 hours? Yes, relevant. The description of a decent distance can be interpreted to mean within 2 or 3 hours. So I'm making a connection between these two ideas, decent distance and coming within 2 or 3 hours. 6, the person has turned up her coat collar against the wind, therefore the place the person traveled from had strong wind. Relevant, one only turns up one's coat collar if the wind is strong. A mere breeze wouldn't instigate such behavior. So I'm making a claim about the circumstances under which one would turn up one's coat collar. Good. Let's go 9. The wind was too strong to use her umbrella. Therefore, the place she had strong wind. That's relevant too. One only chooses not to use an umbrella if the wind is strong. A mere breeze wouldn't keep one from doing so. So we've done all of these. Let's go to 3. Is 3, you know what, I reused 3. Good. Okay, that's fine. I reused 3. It's the same claim, but I used it in 2 different ways. So I'm going to ask whether 3 is relevant to 17. The person's been in heavy rain, therefore the place the person traveled from is heavy rain. That's relevant. If the person has experienced heavy rain in the last few hours, then the place that and has been traveling in those hours, then the place they started their travel must have had heavy rain. Okay, so we've done all of these, and now we get to ask about this cluster of premises. Let's see if I can move this box up just a little bit to give us some space because this is going to be, it's going to take us a little while to do. So we're going to do 19, 18, 19, which is unstated, 18, 17, 15, and 16, all together. Now look at them. What are these claims doing? They're talking about where the person traveled from, what that place must have had. So really there are three kinds of premises. Premise, 18, 17, and 16 describe characteristics of the place that the person traveled from. Premise 19 indicates that that place was not London, and premise 15 indicates that there is only one place, namely, I'm going to make this bigger so you can see my taping, or see if we can go down a little bit, namely Cardiff, that meets the criteria laid out in premises 18, 17, and 16. See how I'm describing what the premises are doing? These premises describe characteristics. This premise says it's not London, and premise 15 indicates there's only one place that meets the criteria. So all of these premises are relevant to the conclusion, which names Cardiff as the place that the person was traveling from. Good. Not going to evaluate the conclusion, of course, but I've evaluated every single premise following the structure of the diagram. And that's the way you do step 6.